welcome Ashes of Creation community to our Kickstarter finale stream.
Hi everybody! Oh my god! I can't believe what happened last night.
The day is here.
It is.
After years of being on Kickstarter.
Years! Decades even.
Decades.
Right.
We are finally here at the final day. I cannot believe it. What a wild ride it has been. Everyone at Intrepid Studios is blown away by the performance of our community and getting the word out and just showing up for Ashes of Creation. This project that we're working on is
you guys are true believers now.
Yeah.
You're making something happen.
Absolutely.
And you got to be really proud of that because it's amazing.
We're in love with this community already. I mean, honestly,
100%.
I've said before, I fall asleep and my phone will fall on my face sometimes with Discord and stuff. I mean, I like reading what people have to say. We get good ideas. As a matter of fact, something you guys are going to see today, and I don't know why this is doing that. Something you guys are going to see today on our stream is we actually took your guys' advice and did a studio tour just about an hour and a half ago. I kind of surprised everyone.
Hi, there's a camera in my face. Oh my god.
So you're going to see that studio tour in a little bit. We have a special guest. We put out a poll on Wednesday, I believe, Jennifer, right? Yeah, it was Wednesday or Tuesday. I can't remember.
I don't remember it at this point.
It was like 12 weeks ago.
Captured, Peter.
Oh, that's not
what happened. Oh, did we announce, by the way, live that we're good on Discord on the stream?
No, I'll do that right
We'll throw that up there so people don't miss out. Anyways, we did a studio tour because that was a request we had from the community last stream.
Direct from the people.
Yeah, direct from the people. So you're going to get a look at the studios. We also have the special guest with us today, Deathsproxy, who won the poll with the community as their favorite guest star for this month.
Yeah. So we're having him back on.
Absolutely. His questions really resonated with people. I mean, he's a person who's really in with the community. He does a lot of content creation on his YouTube channel. And we're appreciative of his coverage and excited ourselves with his enthusiasm. And we think it's reflective of the community in general. So we're excited to have you here, Deathsproxy. Welcome. Absolutely. So we're going to get to those Q&As, the questions that you have, Deaths, in just a moment. But first, we are going to show everyone the studio tour video that we did. It's about 7 or 8 minutes long, I think.
Oh, okay.
They can't hear Death.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Death, can you speak some?
Can you hear now?
I can hear him.
You can hear him? How about now? We good on the Deaths? On the Death.
They still can't hear.
We need that C sharp.
Oh.
Oh no.
Oh wait, we're checking now. Hold on, we changed something. Keep trying, Deaths. Deaths, what do you enjoy doing on your weekends besides playing games?
Now
Deaths?
I can't hear.
Now Deaths can't hear me.
No, he can't hear us.
I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear him because I hear clicks.
Oh, do you hear clicks?
I do, yeah.
They still can't hear him.
Oh, there he is.
There we go.
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay.
He's very low.
All right, we're trying now. We're just gonna fix this technical difficulty real quick. That's okay. Deaths, try again.
Hello, 1 2 3, 1 2 3.
There we go.
We're
Perfect.
doing it live.
It's good now.
Oh, okay, it's good now.
We're good now.
All right, so we got
Pretty good.
Deaths.
Bam.
That's good. So, Deaths,
solving
we're
in
going to
real time.
show this studio tour. It's going to be about 7 or 8 minutes long, and then when we come back, we're going to start with some questions that you have for us. So, let's go ahead and show that video.
What's up, guys? As promised, I'm going to give you a little tour of the studios. I don't think everybody is fully aware that we're going to be doing this tour, so we may drop in unannounced on some of my team members, but that's okay. So hang on. All right, let's see, where should we start? Well, as you can see, we have the studios here. There's a second level that we'll go up to in a moment. Looks like we have some of my design team working on something interesting. Let's see if we can sneak in.
Yeah, I think it has to be asymmetrical. Like, I think that if we keep it too on the nose, like, it's going to get boring. So, I mean, I think we do have to really consider that. Like, there might be some, like, underlying relationships.
What's up, guys?
Hey, what's going on? Hi, everybody. How you doing?
We got
Welcome to our design meeting on the Underrealm.
What are you guys talking about?
We are talking about caravans through the Underrealm and trying to map it out and game it out.
I see a horse head there.
Yes.
Is this Godfather Ashes of Creation, or?
Keep watching us. Steely eye.
Nice, very cool.
Keeps us honest.
All right, well, make the Underrealm great again.
We're gonna try.
Wait.
Bye, you guys. All right, so
That was our design team,
down to
just doing some stuff. This is Peter's desk right there. This is where we film our Q&As. Right here, there's a look at the other direction. This is Jeffrey's desk, Jeffrey Bard. We have Mr. Mr. Artist Extraordinaire, Michael Bacon, doing some work. He's got his Mars Attacks. This is where the magic happens. On an amazing
magic.
Look at our little live stream.
Lots of magic.
The Baconator has a lot of fun here. We got John working on some stuff. What are you working on?
I am working on a cliff type of texture for
For the dungeon.
the dungeon, exactly.
Nice, very cool. Looking good. We've got David here.
Hello.
What are you working on?
I'm working on fixing up the Predator
Oh, nice.
animations
Very cool.
and make it so that they're a lot smoother. And
David is our solo animator in the studios, doing an awesome job. Very cool. Mr. Crawford, Jason Crawford, our technical director.
How's it going?
Pretty good. What are you working on?
Some confidential stuff right now.
The best answer? Nothing. I wouldn't have expected anything differently. We've got Keith, our character artist.
How's it going?
Going good. What are you working on?
Just some creatures, and I got our dragon pet.
Oh, this is the pseudo dragon?
This is the pseudo dragon pet.
Pseudo dragon model. Holy smokes, looking good. Very cool. Nice. We've got level designer extraordinaire over here, Mr. Tristan Snodgrass. What's going on, buddy?
How's it going?
What you working on?
The final trailer for our Kickstarter
Ooh.
consists of all the footage we've filmed so far.
Very nice. Like it. Looking good. Goes upstairs. We are expanding. We have some new hires that we announced, and we're getting these quad stations up. Waiting on installing the monitors you can see over here, and new computers come in next week. We have a couple more of these quad stations going up soon. We have a concept artist over here, Mr. Jeff Deliere.
Howdy doody.
Deliere? Deliere,
How's it
very
going,
nice.
folks?
Pretty good. What are you working on?
Well, we just, me and my fellow concept artist, Matt Broom over here, we're working on some silhouettes.
Matt Broom,
Hello.
our senior character artist.
One and only.
One of our senior character artists. Very cool. So you guys are working on some Underrealm race silhouettes.
That's right, yeah. So, this was one of our stretch goals, and we were just fleshing out some ideas.
Nice.
As kind of one way to start it, one way to start the process of new character ideation. Pretty standard.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, just exploring different shapes, and it's going to be pretty exciting.
Very
These
awesome.
races.
That looks pretty cool. That guy has a massive tail.
Yeah, Jeff was saying this guy could, potentially be one of the bosses.
Oh no, yeah.
Bosses for sure.
That looks cool.
So we're having fun looking at, different tails and different weapons.
Very cool. Awesome. This is Matt's desk. He is not here right now. We have Kevin's desk over here. I don't know where he is. And Jennifer, our community manager, normally sits there. Uh-oh, we're coming across my desk. We have our CFO, Mr. John Moore, doing CFO things. How's it going? You've got fun papers on your desk? We've got my crazy desk with some magic ready to go. Let's take you upstairs. See if anybody's up there. This is our current break area. We need to have a escalator installed for ease of stair flight. Hopefully the audio on this is okay. It's our little hangout area where guys take a break, heat up some food, kind of just chillax. Little loungy area. We haven't really touched this upstairs area very much, but you can get a pretty cool view of the entire. Ooh, let's see if I can take a look down here. Of the entire area. Very cool. Well, hope you guys enjoyed this little tour of the studios. And again, everybody at Intrepid Studios is so appreciative of the unbelievable support that we received from all of you out there in the MMORPG community. Ashes of Creation is going to be an unbelievable game, and we are nothing but excited to develop this genre-changing MMORPG. We'll see you guys soon.
So, all right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the tour.
walkthrough. Yeah.
The real quick last-second tour today that we filmed. We wanted to invite you in here and just give you a look.
Give you a sense of what we're doing with every day.
Yeah. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. Deathsproxy.
Hello.
You have got some pretty awesome questions. I heard you were collecting from both yourself and the community. And we are ready for you.
Oh, great. Well, let's start off by getting straight into it. The Kickstarter, 3 million, you know, that's quite a large goal to get so early.
Oh, yeah.
It is absolutely incredible.
In
Like,
fact,
I can't even
that's
believe it.
a record of some degree, isn't it?
It is a record Kickstarter MMO. We are the #1 Kickstartered MMO, and we are also currently the number 8, I believe, video game of all time.
Right.
And that's all the stretch goals reached as well, I believe it's.
All of the stretch goals.
Yeah, everybody gets everything.
Nice.
It is official. We have all of the stretch goals.
We have an echo.
A little bit of an echo.
Echo?
Do we have an echo?
Do we actually have an echo, or just one person?
Is Michael's mic on? Do you have anybody watching the stream who can
I
confirm?
can't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so
Yeah. And you've got a new one in there. I saw you snuck in somewhere last week, you know? Just creeped it in there. Yeah, the backer goal. So
we're going to hit above that mark just a little bit.
Lost
We wanted to
audio?
throw that in there.
Sound is dead.
Oh, we lost audio.
Rip.
Rip.
It's back? It's back? We're back?
All right, audio's back. How about that echo? We have
Echo
the echo
stuff?
still?
are we good?
Okay.
Yeah, they said he needs to be louder, but the
I can't tell yet.
Echo's gone.
Good.
Echo's gone. Okay. Sorry. So yeah, hit all the stretch goals. We added that last one in there. You know, we're really just amazed by the outpouring of support that's been coming in over the past couple days. And today,
It's been absolutely incredible. It's been fast-paced and furious.
for sure. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so what kind of things can we expect from this new the backer thing? You know, with the FX skills.
Yeah, that's a good question. So what we're doing with that is we're going to be changing up the appearance of these effects, both from a color standpoint and potentially even a little bit added special effects that might be around some of these skills. And it's going to be applicable to a few skills that reside within each of the archetypes for players. And it's going to really make you stand out differently as a backer from other players who come in.
Yeah, other people, when you use these abilities, other players will know that, hey, that was a backer, which I think will be pretty cool.
Absolutely.
So if there's like 2 augmented skills, for example, would those also have another effect because they both have different graphics to them?
What was that? I didn't
2
get that.
augmented skills.
Yeah, well, like if you augment the skill, would the same effects apply to it?
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
They'll be, since they'll be an augment, there'll be a lot of like similar effects that are used with it. And so, yeah, those will all be inherited by the
Oh,
augment.
nice.
Yeah, so the effect skin itself applies to the entire skill that's occurring, regardless of its augment or whatnot.
Right.
It's still going to have different appearance.
Great. So after, Kickstarter is now coming to an end now, and you have lots of Kickstarter exclusive rewards that are going to go away now, so nobody will be able to buy them now. But you're going to have other packages or other options or other things you can buy after the Kickstarter? Will that be a thing?
Yes, we are planning on having different access packages that will include some early access like the alphas and betas. We're going to be including some additional cosmetics that are going to be separate from the Kickstarter cosmetics that we may be releasing later in the future. And we really just want to make sure that even if people who weren't involved necessarily during the Kickstarter month have an opportunity to come in during our development and take a look at stuff, not having access to the Kickstarter exclusive
We know people
stuff.
who are in other regions can't necessarily participate in the Kickstarter, so we wanted to make sure that everybody had an opportunity.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, so I have some future concerns with Ashes, specifically targeting future content, for example, Final Fantasy XIV, for example, produces, content on a regular basis. It makes you feel like you're worth paying the subscription for,
Right.
And with other subscription games, sometimes they only release it as an expansion. So there's huge time spans where you feel like your subscription is almost being wasted. So often people will cancel it and return on an expansion. So what were you going to do in terms of progression and the approach of, funding future content, and how will that be dealt with?
Well, the great thing about being a subscription game is that we can go down the path of offering both of those avenues. We can do the big updates with the big expansions, and at the same time we're going to have content that gets released little by little between those major expansions.
Right, because of the modularity of a lot of the systems that we're working on, it's not too hard to iterate and implement new things, new variations on those themes. And that's part of the plan going forward. It's one of the reasons why we're going with a subscription-based model, is so that we can continue to fund that kind of continued development. We're not going to go on a yearly, bi-yearly cycle. We're planning on going on a quarterly, monthly cycle to continue to push out new content.
Yeah, the quarterly cycle for the big content is good for us. And then, as you said, those modular components to our mechanisms in the game allow for us to introduce smaller content patches that can be seen in the real time in the world.
Okay. Well, what about alternative ways to pay subscription? You have the referral system, obviously. That's one way to alternatively pay for subscription. Will there be any other means which we can pay subscription with?
Like
in-game currency, for example.
In-game currency?
Yeah.
No, we're not going to go down that route of in-game currency, I don't think. I think for
not
the
at
most
this
part,
point in time.
Yeah, we want to make sure that there's no interactability between any type of pay-to-win scenario where players can exchange those in-game types of currencies that pay for subscription.
It
and
really
that
kind of changes the way the economy works.
Right.
So,
so
it's something
like the gold standard gold value on that.
Right.
And we don't want to do that.
So more than likely not at this point. It's something that we're always considering and talking about, and so that might change in the future, but right now the plans are no.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so on your Kickstarter page you have a list of all the classes that we can currently play and the basic overview of what they do. But could you expand on that basic overview and tell us what these roles of these classes will be and how they will act in the group?
So, we do have a resemblance to the classic Trinity roles with the DPS and somewhat of a support and the tank, and those can combine within a group scenario to offer those specific roles and be adapted and customized out basing off of where players are going to go with their skills and their secondary classes. But at the same time, we're also going to be doing a lot of in-depth blogs over the following months that are going to really pinpoint and focus in on what those individual archetypes do.
Right. I mean, it's a little bit tough to talk about all of those in one giant quick overview, but it's going to basically come down to, you've got the mage, which is kind of AoE DPS. You've got
We're doing it.
The what?
We're going down the basic overview.
Okay, never mind.
I don't want to go down a basic overview.
It'll take us forever.
Yeah, it not only would take us forever, but even if we try to condense it won't do it justice. We're going to save that overview for something in depth that we will release over the following months for each of these archetypes.
Okay, that's fine. So, just because of that, Bard, it's one of the more specific roles. It has, been labeled as a support class within your dynamic, but it's kind of interesting, how will this actually be played? Because you said in previous, discussions that it's going to be slightly different from what you would expect from a Bard to be played like.
Yeah, so previously, I mean, in other games, bards tend to be a relatively passive kind of way of playing, and that's really not the direction that we want to go with it. We want every class to be fun to play. We want every class to be viable. We want you to feel like you are doing something, that your moment-to-moment gameplay is fun. So a lot of that kind of stuff is going to be based on combos, on reactives, interactions between your party members and the mob that you're fighting, or the player character that you're fighting. There's going to be a lot of movement from the front lines to the back lines to kind of help out and make sure that everybody is supported in the way that they're doing it, and that you are also being active in what you're doing. You're not just sitting in the back, passively playing a lute, and not having any fun.
We want there to be synergy between the archetypes, and
Right.
that includes the bard and everything else. So that's
you're going to see a lot of interaction between how the party functions as a whole and how the bard solo affects themselves.
Right.
Okay, that's good. Onto the subject of the underworld. There's the whole element of the underworld is quite different from the rest of the game. It's somewhere completely separate. It's a different environment.
Underrealm.
Underrealm. Underrealm. Interchangeable almost.
One's you're dead, the other one's you're not.
This is not Hades.
This is not. I know you're Deathsproxy, but
The Underrealm is mine. So with the introduction of the Underrealm, there's going to be a lot of new, possibly changed game elements that might not exist how they normally would on the surface. For example, how will seasons work underground? Will you actually see any of effects of the seasons at all?
Yeah, the seasons above ground will kind of inform what happens underneath. I mean, it's not going to be a direct one-to-one correlation, right? It's not like it's going to be raining in the underworld, but you will see the effects from above happen down below. You might find tunnels being flooded. You might
the effects of seasons above ground, as you said, will affect their underground environment, but not directly. You're not going to see it snowing underground.
Right.
And there may be correlation between the seasons on top and below, and you'll see those effects come out in gameplay just as you would if you were surfaced. Freehold.
Okay, so what about things like caravans? Will they work same as they do on the surface, or will it change because of the way caves are structured? They're very tight and very choke pointy for PvP. I mean, would you have any issues with how the caravan works underground compared to it does on the surface?
Not really. And when you're picturing kind of tight caverns, right, there will be some tight caverns, but that's not going to be that's kind of gets boring after a while. We're going to have full-on environments under the world that are open and
vast underground.
Vast, yeah. It's I think of it more this is not. Don't take this literally, but it's kind of like a Hollow Earth kind of idea where there's stuff going on underneath. It doesn't mean the world is hollow by any means, but that's kind of what we're going for.
And just because the term underrealm is what applies here doesn't mean, as Jeff was saying, everything's cavey. I mean, there's going to be caves, but those caves are also going to be, as you said, those vast realms. Those vast.
Do we lose everything?
No, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you?
I'm on a delay, so I won't be able to see
Okay.
It's okay. We don't need to see it.
No, yeah, you guys are there.
We're
fine?
still there,
Okay.
so don't worry about it, Michael.
Oh, good.
Okay. So yeah, that's the gist of how that'll work.
Yeah.
Okay, so the caverns are quite expansive. I mean, is there going to be enough room for, say, the leader of a metropolis who has a dragon to be able to fly around it and use the dragon? And, the other siege things like trebuchets, will they just act as normal because the caverns are so expansive?
So they're pretty big. And there's going to be room for that to play out.
There's going to be a sizable z-axis, especially in the areas where metropolises can develop.
Absolutely.
So right now, I mean, it's possible that when we get to that point, we'll be like, this is way too tight and not fun, and then we can kind of take a look at a solution outside of that.
Right. Hey, maybe underground nodes instead of a dragon will have giant millipedes and stuff.
A giant worm like the ones from Dune.
A giant worm, like a purple worm, and you can ride that in burrow. And
Actually, I really like that idea.
I know.
I really like that idea.
You could have it spit acid on walls instead of having to siege them.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Right.
Not a bad idea.
In terms of freeholds, underground, how would they be different? Because obviously crops can't grow; they have no sunlight and things like that. How are the freeholds underground going to be different from the ones on the surface? Or do they have things like mushroom farming, for example?
Similarly to how you will see freeholds how you will see freeholds have certain crops that are available based on the season. You're also going to see certain crops that are available because that freehold exists underground,
right?
Like those mushrooms,
right? And with the whole Underrealm stretch goal, like this whole new layer of resources is coming with it.
Absolutely.
Where there are only certain types of resources you're going to be able to find underground, and that includes things like farming and animal husbandry and that sort of thing. So,
and you can only ever have one freehold,
right?
So you're going to have to position that appropriately
and figure out what your specialization is going to be.
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of taming and breeding, will it be just like capturing a couple of creatures in the forest and then going to send them to some sort of Pokemon daycare center and then check back later to see what happened, or is it going to be more deep mechanics to it?
There's going to be mechanics to it. There's going to be genetic lines that react to the ingredients being which, what type of mount you're bringing in or what type of creature you've captured or tamed or whatever the deal may be. And it's going to be, I think, an explorative profession.
Right. Trying to figure out what combinations work well,
right.
And
how they affect certain stats.
And what time of year affects it, and what the astrological signs say, and that kind of stuff.
Oh, there's going to be astrological signs?
Ooh, wait, whoops,
Why?
Spoiler alert. So in terms of, let's talk about the world as a whole, the entire world on its vast concepts and the environments contained within that world. We've seen the environmental trailer, we've seen different parts of the world in the screenshots and such, with forests, trees, mountains, some deserts, some swamps, and often they change or look different because of seasons. But will there be any biomes that are like more unusual or follow a different trend of realism?
Yeah, 100%. That's one of the things is we are a high fantasy game. It's not low fantasy. That means that outside of the traditional sorts of environments, you're going to start seeing some pretty crazy and wild stuff that will also change based on seasons, and how that changes isn't going to be just simply snow or rain, but might be other things.
Right.
Okay, and will biomes and seasons have a effect on the player, or the combination two have effect on the player because they're in a biome and it's winter? Would it have some kind of an extra effect on the player?
Yeah, we've discussed a little bit about how the seasons and or biomes will react with different types of skills. Like if you have a fireball and it's summer, it might be a little bit different. If it's winter and you have a frost ability, it might be different.
Right.
There's some things we're going to play there with with gameplay.
So, for example, if there's a tundra-like zone that's always quite wintry, would a mage that has frost spells have more impact with his frost spells just because he entered that biome?
The frost spells might have a higher chance to proc a freeze or things like that. Is kind of what we're looking at right now.
That's like
we have to really look at it and balance it out because we don't want to ignore parts and totally focus on other things. But yeah, we want to get a nice spread of abilities that are influenced by what's going on in the zone. We want to make sure
outside of the immersion factor of seasons and those types of zones, there's actual gameplay affected by these things.
Right.
So you're going to see that play out in a lot of different mechanics, I think.
So fun. Does that happen in PvP as well? Is it just exclusive to PvE?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
it's all PvP, PvE kind of agnostic.
Oh, that's great. Let's talk about religions now. I mean, you have an extensive religion system. It seems quite broad in what you can actually do with it, but you haven't really talked much about what you can actually do in it. So, as a character, what advantages it will give you or progression will it give you for your character as you evolve into a religion?
Well, the religion system in and of itself is sort of like a society as well, because you're going to have advancement within the religion and within the church that you're a part of.
Right.
And those advancements are going to be both reflective of the community's development of that religion, out in the world, building temples, building just infrastructure for that, completing certain quests for it. And then you will benefit from the community's development of that specific religion via having certain secondary abilities, augment abilities that you'll gain access to and be able to apply on top of your secondary class augments to skills. And it's going to reflect what the nature of that religion is.
Right.
And each religion has a different deity, and that deity has a different focus. And there's a deity right there.
He's our deity. But yeah, you're going to see augments being used a lot throughout a lot of our systems when we're talking about the guild system, when we're talking about some organizations, when we're talking about religions. A lot of those things are going to affect like how and like what you have available to augment your skills with.
And not only that, but like it'll also affect like what access you have to certain types of craftable augments as well to affect certain weapons and or gear. What type of enchantments you can place in those gears and stuff like that.
We want all these things to have a strong flavor, right? A strong RP factor to it, but then also have mechanical systems to back that up.
Right.
Okay, so religions are going to have like a hierarchy within them, and they're going to have some ranks of importance within them as well.
Correct.
So what determines a player's position in the hierarchy? What determines whether they're going to be a lowly acolyte or the pope of the entire religion?
It depends on their dedication to the religion itself, their performance when it comes to certain religious objectives, their contribution to the development of that religion within the world. There's a lot of different markers that we use at each stage to determine how they progress within the religion.
Okay. So, religion seems very important, lore-wise at least, to Ashes of Creation. People are saved by the gods and whatnot. But what about players who don't want to be involved with the religious system? Will there be some sort of science-based sort of path that they can progress down?
Like, no.
Well, see, the thing is that in this world, there are deities.
Right.
They exist. They're real. You see them. It's a part of the story.
And if they have your back, they give you things.
Right. Now, you're not forced to go down this progression. If you want to abstain from the religion progression path, you may do so.
Right.
But it would be, in my opinion, you'll be missing out on an aspect of the game.
And I mean, when you're thinking about like, it's not going to hurt you, I guess, because a lot of these augments are kind of side grades, specializations, that kind of thing. But yeah, I think you'd be missing out on a lot of what the game has to offer.
And I think that for me, I can understand that perspective because in the game there is no real atheism, right? Because that the gods are there and they have actually created this universe. So,
it's not a question of faith. It's a different kind of question.
Whether they're worthy or not, obviously that's up to you.
And that's a different question.
Yeah.
So all the atheists probably died because they didn't want to go through the portal kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Okay. So let's talk about PvP and, PvP objectives in specifically, like Arcade, there was illegal tree farms and attacking fishing raids and stealing trade ships, while in some games like BDO, there was just literally fighting over grind spots. That was literally the only open world PvP objective there really was. So what kind of things in Ashes of Creation? I know you have the caravan system, which is an open world PvP objective, but what other things will be open world and, objectively fought over?
Well, the interesting thing outside of PvP for certain things like caravan sieges of nodes and or castles is that you're going to have those open world hunting ground fights that may occur. You're going to have resources fights that may occur. You're going to have political fights that could occur between members of guilds. And we're taking the guild politics to a whole new direction in regards to playing those conflicts out with having objective-based, open world objective-based scenarios that these guilds can play out.
Like when you declare war on another guild, right? You're going to kind of choose what kind of war it is, and that war will determine what your goals are in regards to that relationship.
And it will also determine what the benefits and downsides of losing or winning that war will be.
Yeah, we really want those wars to have like a clear objective, and we want it to be able to end, right? We don't want it to just be this thing that just goes on forever.
Right.
We want there to be like a climax to it.
Right. And neither do we want it to be something that's going to, be over with in an hour.
Yeah.
We want it to have meaning to it as well, but not drag on forever.
Yeah, that's actually quite good, because I know like a lot of time you have these guild fights and people will, initiate the guild fight and it'll be basically based on kills. Whoever wins got the X amount of kills or whatever. And they'll kill someone and then they'll run back into town and you can no longer touch them and they win the war just by staying in town for like an hour. So it makes the whole thing kind of pointless. Okay, so I generally find that some MMORPGs with, PvP content, they launch with it, but then after it gets neglected over time, and, they just focus on the PvE content, PvE raids, difficult difficulty modes for the dungeons, but then PvP content is almost ignored or put to the side for a long time. So will you be catering to both crowds, or is it something that you will decide later on?
We can't ignore PvP.
Right.
I mean,
It's
it's
an
such an
part.
integral part to our game.
Yeah.
We can't not, because if we do, we'll kill our game.
And we're not putting it on a silver platter either.
Right.
We're just saying, in order, and we're very clear with our objective and philosophy on the game, and we understand that they may not appeal to everybody,
Right.
but you know, it is an important reciprocal relationship between the content that's related to PvE and the content that's related to PvP, and they feed off of each other. They're catalysts for change, their progression, their development. It's things that people can value when they see something earned and they see something lost. That elicits an emotional response from the player that they've invested time into either succeed or fail. And PvP allows for that element to be introduced into gameplay. And we're very clear that is our objective, that risk versus reward relationship, that achievement-based mentality. Not everybody's gonna be a winner, and that's okay.
You'll still have fun, hopefully.
Right.
That's great. I really like the focus that it's more of a PvX game rather than focusing on like one category here, one category there. It's all intermerged into one. That's really good.
Right.
When you keep it separate like that, you're right. Like you're going to give up something to gain something, and that's not our system.
Right.
Okay, let's talk a bit more about PvE instead for a change. Raid groups and dungeons. You know, like most dungeons you enter, you go through a certain progression path, killing bosses. You know, you kill this boss, next boss, and you know, so on. You complete the dungeon. Will there be any sort? Is that a linear design you're going for? You're going something more non-linear, and you can progress through different paths, or choose different bosses, or have different impacts or choices within the dungeon, so it plays out completely differently from one time to another.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be a little bit of both. I mean, there are going to be smaller, simpler, linear dungeons. There's going to be bigger, more complex, non-linear dungeons. So I mean, it's a little bit of both. You know, especially for when we're talking about we want the environment to be a character. In order for the environment to be a character, these places need to be interesting, and there needs to be dynamicism to them. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of both.
That is so funny. You were saying dynamicism, and I was saying Dianonymity in my head, and they just kind of converged there.
Perfect. That's why we work so well together.
Exactly, yes.
We're on the same wavelength.
It's okay.
So you guys released a video not long ago about monster tokens. Now, I love a lot of the mechanics in your games, and the systems in the game so far seem really well thought out and quite rich in design. However, the monster coin token thing, it seems a little bit gimmicky in comparison to everything else you've done. And your game has a lot of content that is meaningful, but clicking on the token for an event to gain a cosmetic doesn't seem that meaningful. It's not impactful to me as a character, really. Are you satisfied with the monster token currently as it is?
I am super satisfied
I'm
with
so
it.
stoked about it,
So
it's not even
maybe that's a communication error
It might
on our
be.
part.
It might be.
You know, it's not.
We've just been showing the monster coin like as it's
fun,
being used,
yeah.
right? Like we haven't shown it in its full context.
In context, you know, it has to be understood that there are dynamic events that react to certain triggers that the players develop in the open world, including certain achievements, the building of certain buildings, the development of certain nodes in certain areas, the defeating of certain bosses, the clearing of certain dungeons. All of these things relate to, in some way, shape, or form, a trigger event for these monster coin events. Now, the monster coin events, even though we term them as monster coin events, they're really just an event that is controlled by an AI.
Would be happening anyways.
It would be happening regardless, and there are going to be certain objectives for these events that are basically like public quests for players who are maybe citizens of certain nodes or in an area, local area when this event occurs, that they have an objective to defend or to stop the progression of these monsters from moving into their objectives. What the
and there are
monster-
consequences to not doing it.
Absolutely. So the players are incentivized to make sure they achieve their objectives. Otherwise, they'll be paying for it later and over a certain period of time, such as disabling certain services that may be offered at a stable that was built, or quest lines that may not be available for a couple days because the acolytes in a temple were murdered. You know, there are real consequences and meaning there that the players will have to react towards. But for the monster coin system, it allows for, and there's some lore behind it as well, because there's corruption in the world. And that corruption, sometimes it tugs at your soul. It pulls at trying to play towards your desires to fall to that darkness, you know? And the monster coins are these artifacts that the players can both find in the open world, and they'll be able to use them to basically get out of their existence as a character and experience being the antagonist, being the monster. And we understand that when you ever introduce an element that involves a player into the system, there's going to be potential for gaming of that system, and we're accounting for that when we're introducing this system. But it's going to be a really fun and dynamic event when you're facing an adversary that has the mind of a human over the mind of an AI.
Right. And so, like, to give the sense of meaning, like where the meaning comes from this, right? Like, and I'm going to use the dragon example because I like to use it because it's really easy to, like, you know, decorate. But so I am a player, right? And all of a sudden this event starts and the dragon comes out of the mountain and the dragon comes down and starts attacking my node, right? As a player, I'm defending it, right? I don't want whatever the consequences of this to happen. Now, suddenly the dragon is another player, right? Now suddenly the stakes are much higher. As the dragon, I can actually cause those consequences, right? It's not just, you know, I get to watch this dragon burn down the node. It's I am the dragon, I get to burn down the node.
Right.
And I think that's where the meaning comes from.
And that plays again to that whole reciprocal nature of how players interact between PvE and PvP, right? That it may be more alluring to PvP players to play as the monster, whereas the PvE players, I mean, I think it's going to be alluring to both, but, you know, it might be more towards, you know, hey, I can be the dragon and kill the people,
right?
You know what I mean? And then the people get to experience a much more difficult dragon potentially, and that's something that challenges them.
Yeah.
And I think anything that challenges players out of the rut they may find themselves in and whatever experiences they're experiencing, that engagement is fun. It is a detraction from the norm.
Yeah.
And I think that's a cool system.
Yeah, I think, like, ultimately when you talk about assigning a meaning to every system, I mean, the meaning can be fun, right? Like, we want to create a player experience that is fun for players, right? So, like, we view this as a very fun system for people, and it has all of the other effects, but ultimately we view it as a fun system that people will enjoy.
It's definitely not, and I've never would have imagined the word gimmicky could be used to describe it. We definitely don't want that to come off. That must have been a communication error on our part, maybe because we weren't fully explaining the scope that the system exists within.
Part of it is that, like, we have so much fun when we're
right, we're so excited about it every time.
It's so hard to, like,
that is true.
It's so hard to communicate that, I think. And so we think people are driving it like we're driving it, and I guess that's not necessarily the case. But.
Well, I'll probably reserve my judgment until I can see it for myself. Okay, we're going to move on to world bosses. And we know that they can spawn and attack nodes. And we also know there's going to be, you know, instances where we can fight a world boss and kill it and destroy it and prevent our node being, you know, hindered or, you know, damaged in any way. But is there going to be, like, non-combat methods with dealing with world bosses? You know, can I have the ability to pacify that world boss to stop it doing what it's doing, or befriend it even to have it bolster the defense of my node? Or is there going to be anything like I can convince the world boss to change the season, you know, after it's been, like, forcing it in the sin or winter? Can I give it some offering or sacrifices, you know, to change the season for me?
So what you're talking about is kind of a really open and difficult system to design, but it is awesome. And there are going to be aspects of that to certain events, right? There are going to be, like, events that you can't solve by fighting, that you solve by doing something else in the world to, you know, cause whatever you're fighting to either go dormant or something like that. There will be different consequences. There may be several different ways you can deal with a certain specific type of boss, but an open system like that would be very difficult to do.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. That'd be difficult to do.
Yeah,
I definitely see what you're saying in regards to certain mechanics that might evolve around a boss that could relate to not having to be a head-on, you know, combat situation. But I think generally when you see an antagonist in the world that is a monster of sorts, you know, that's typically going to go down the route of there's going to be combat. Almost certainly.
All right. Now there are situations, right, where, like, okay, the event is endless winter, right? That's the event. And you have to figure out what is causing this endless winter, right? And that might not involve fighting a boss. That might be finding out, you know, some spirit has infested the zone and you have to appease it and you have to solve it in a non-combat way. But that's a different kind of situation. And
there may be non-combat methods by which you can aid the attack of that monster that exists. You know what I mean? Like if you have the Eternal Winter boss, you might have a way to bring summer into the fight in some way, shape, or form that might weaken it or something. You know what I mean?
But again, that's specific to the event. It's not going to be that open-ended, sort of 100 different ways of solving that problem. They will usually have specific solutions.
Okay. And with your last stream, you had a video shown briefly, and you let slip a little bit of information, and that information was that Peter is soft. But the question is, how soft is Peter?
Very nice.
I should have said soft-spoken.
That's okay. Yeah, I don't know where humans lie on the hardness scale compared to diamonds. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, that's a good picture to throw up in this conversation. Yeah.
Oh no. I'm sorry, Peter.
It's okay. It's all right.
And to end the question and answer with you today, slime race, will it be a thing?
Slime race. I tried to convince Steven, but he just wasn't on board, couldn't make it happen.
Why wouldn't you want slime races? They've got everything.
Because too many times have I gone dungeon delving in Pathfinder or D&D, and some stupid slime has eaten all of my armor.
Yeah, so, no, it's a terrible experience.
Yes.
I understand where he's coming
And when
from.
you attack them, they split into different things. Oh my gosh.
Sounds great.
All right, well, thank you very much for having me on today, guys.
Thanks, Deathsproxy. We appreciate it, buddy.
Okay.
All right, guys, we have some forum questions, I believe.
We do.
Oh, you don't have them.
He's looking
Oh, got it.
Yeah. Okay. Nagash, love the name. Will you be adding a way for players to be good or evil?
We kind of addressed this in a previous question, but probably not in that sense. Not in a dark and light kind of way. I didn't mean to say that in that way because they don't do it that way, I don't think. I meant in the sort of, like Star Wars-y way, where like,
Until you defended yourself, I didn't even understand.
Awesome.
It's fair use. But that doesn't mean that your gameplay can't affect it.
I think we're going more down the route of corruption and non-corruption, as opposed to darkness and the light of whatever. But you can extrapolate from that as you may as the player.
Right. Your behavior is going to determine that more than like us prescribing it for you.
Right. And evil's such a permanent term, You may, as a player, choose to do evil things, and you may choose to do good things, and we don't want to give that description to stuff. Right.
Sorry. Because Jennifer was laughing, and then made me laugh. Next is Goom Show.
What is Goom Show?
I have no clue.
It's the name. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Is the Kickstarter Persistent Alpha going to be patched into Beta 1 and 2, or are each of the various testing phases fresh starts?
Fresh starts.
Fresh starts, yeah.
They're all fresh starts.
Okay. DS.
Some of the open beta events might be continuations of the open beta events, not the sold betas. I mean, if we have a...
But that's not Kickstarter, right? So
Right, that's not Kickstarter.
Right.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
That's okay, yeah. So DS Yelnats, shout out to the bookholes, nice name. Will corruption be awarded on first hit or when the non-combatant dies?
Dies.
When it dies.
Or quick. Elena, will we be able to upgrade our pledges after the Kickstarter ends?
We're still discussing that.
Yeah.
We're still discussing that.
Okay, Savannah. We've answered that. It's a season worldwide or zone question.
Okay.
Patcha. Will PvP be centered around 1 to 2 seconds fights or longer, more strategic fights? So like basic feeling of how the tempo will go.
Yeah, it's going to be longer, more strategic fights. We don't want combat to be over in a flash. We want people to be able to respond. I think it's important for fun, and play counterplay is going to be
when it's over that fast. It's only fun for
thing.
one
Yeah,
person.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Okay, Roscoe. Are shields just fixed designs for specific models, or will they be customizable?
We answered a little bit about that.
You like putting details on it and stuff?
Right, details obviously, such as like a guild emblem, stuff like that. And not only that, but also we're looking into potentially having an potentially having an item creation suite that you can work with certain components to construct these items that you're creating. I personally think that that's a road we can go down. We're going to explore that. So
it would be amazing.
It would be amazing.
Okay, lethality, we answered your question already. Elsewhere, will elves be more Tolkien-esque or just tall, skinny humanoids with pointy ears?
Aren't Tolkien-esque elves also tall, skinny humanoids with pointy ears?
Well, I mean, they're a little bit more like there's more to them. Like there's
Right, I know they're like the undying race in the West.
Yeah.
Each race in Ashes of Creation has its own history, and it's a very in-depth history. They have a past that you get to discover as the player in the game, and you're discovering it with the rest of the community as well. So I don't want to say necessarily are they Tolkien-esque because they're Ashes of Creation-esque.
Right.
They have their own unique individualism. Yeah.
Char.
But they don't necessarily have to be tall, skinny, and pointy-eared. They could be short, fat, and a little bit of a less pointy ear, maybe. It's up to the character creator.
Yeah.
There you go. Char, will there be hidden professions/classes?
Hidden professions/classes,
Something like the
Jedi.
original Jedi from.
Probably not. But if it was secret, we wouldn't
tell you. That's funny.
So that's a hard question. Okay, Snut. Will PKs accrue a negative XP penalty?
Will PKs accrue a negative XP penalty?
So not out of the gate.
You'll
the death
accrue
will.
a corruption. Right, you'll accrue a corruption, and that corruption will inevitably end in death.
Right.
In which case, you'll accrue a greater degree of negative experience gain because
at that point,
Okay, last one is from Mick Bob.
McBob.
Will there be underwater caves as part of the Underrealm?
Underwater caves?
Yep.
Underwater caves?
So like in the Underrealm, will you be able to go basically in like an underground lake and see?
Yeah, I presume that also the cavernous areas that exist along the coast will have access points into the underwater environments as well.
And the underwater environments also will have underwater caves.
Yes.
So. There'll be caves everywhere.
Caves, underwater.
We want there to be
caves.
cool things to explore all over the place. So yeah, there's really nothing off the table as far as that goes.
So guys, we prepared a final compilation of some footage that we showed throughout Kickstarter, and we just want to show you guys that video before we give a final send-off and express our gratitude and appreciation. So enjoy this little compilation of game footage that we've shown. right, guys. On behalf of everybody here at Intrepid Studios, we cannot express to you enough our heartfelt gratitude for the amazing support that you guys have all shown us over these past 30 days and into the future. We are going to make for you guys a game that you can be absolutely proud of, and we're so excited to do it. So we'll be seeing you guys in future streams that we'll be doing twice monthly from this time forward, and we cannot wait to show you the progress that we make in Ashes of Creation. Thank you guys very
Thanks,
much.
everybody. It's been
We
amazing.
appreciate it. Thank you all.
Awkward silence.